Welcome to the Brutiful Game. As always, I'm Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
And on tonight's 250th episode of the Brutiful Game, with both politics and soccer in the air, some of us are, and some of us aren't, feeling too patriotic about our English clubs. But either way, we each will give you our State of the Union type address on how our beloved Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United football clubs are getting on thus far for this season and as an overall whole. Then we're going to blow the halftime whistle as the patriotic professor of the Pilsner and the pork roll and the American of the ales, Ron, shares with us all the news that's fit to drink in yet another edition of Ron's Beer News. And for second half of the pod, we're going to skip across the Atlantic. And yes, it's still called that as of today, as we Yanks give you an update on the latest table and matches of the Champions League, and yet another edition of the La Liga's Roundup. Oh, I always like it when that thing hits just right. But first,
That was a clean intro, my friend.
oh yeah, you like that?
Well done.
Felt like getting out and out.
Yeah. It's only taken us 250 times to do this, but hey, we got there.
Like we know what we're doing at some point.
Exactly.
Just
We
like
didn't talk about beer we're going to do, but I'm just going to take it by the horns and I'll start.
We'll do it in the order that we're going to do the State of the Union in.
Love it. Love it. So for my beer, this was one of those, don't judge a book by cover, but I did. I saw the label and thought it was cool. I went to the local beer. What are those things called around here in Pennsylvania? Beer distributor store. Used to be the rule. Yeah. That you could only buy your case of beer at beer distributors in Pennsylvania. The laws have changed a bit. Now you can get 6-packs and 4-packs and stuff there. And the little one near me is not big, but they have a really good craft selection. My favorite thing was I found a couple of reviews on Google talking about how good the craft selection was. I was really excited. Oh, excellent. I'll go down there. The two reviews that fawned over how good the craft selection was a lady named Judy and one named Sarah. I don't know. And it had their ages on it at like 65, 67. And it just cracked me up. I was like, well, I hope I run into them at this place.
Heck yeah.
But I got a German style Pilsner from a local brewery called out of York, PA, about half an hour from where I'm at on the Lancashire side of the world, called Collusion Tap Works. This is a German style Pilsner brewed with 100% German hops for a crisp, crushable beer with a citrus and floral noble hop aroma and flavor. And check out this can art. It's friggin' cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow, that's neat.
It's like, yeah, I'll have to send you guys a link to get a better look at it. But it is, let me pull up the info on their beer. It's called First Right. It's Freemasonry, it says, one of the oldest organizations in the world. Much of what goes into it is seemingly shrouded in mystery. And on this can, it's got like 3 cloaked figures, one with like the thing across their eyes so they can't see. One's like an older looking guy. One's you could see like the skeleton. And they are, I'll send you guys what it looks like. But it says that the masonries date back to biblical times. Their modern organization dates to the 17th century when many Scots fled England to escape strife and settle in France, resuming their jobs. They created the Scottish Rite, or what most people know today is Freemasonry. Eventually, Freemasonry spread across the globe to become what it has today. Founded on 3 rights, being the entered apprentice, the second, the entered craft, and the third is the master mason. So guys, this is like straight up like conspiracy theory beers.
I was going to say, are they wearing the like little pinch me underwear?
It's what's that movie From Hell or whatever about the Freemasons and Jack the Ripper. Couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
In this way, the path is more than just with Freemasonry. Everyone begins a job at the bottom and learns they gain experience, and our craft beer is no different. The brewers at Collusion started one day as entered apprentices and learned and honed their craft. One day, I hope you'll be considered the masters of our craft. So this place is cool. They got a location in York and one closer to me in Lidditz. And this is kind of neat. It touches on the guys who put this together have bounced around a little bit. So Jared Barnes, the head brewer, was born and raised in York, PA. But after attending the Sable Institute Master Brewers course and finishing his education at Domen's Academy in Munich, Germany for brewing technology, Jared began his brewing career at Southern Tier Brewing Company in New York. I know, one of our favorites.
That's awesome.
And then he has led brewing operations at Darwin Brewing Company in Florida. Have you guys ever had Darwin Brewing?
Yes.
I have. Yeah.
and then Mispillion River in Delaware. Then he was head brewer at Windridge Farms in Dallastown, PA until May 2015, until he came to help them launch this brewery in 2016, where he's won several World Cup, Great American Beer Festival. He's won Best Florida Beer Championships, as well as Delaware State Championships, where he's brewed at. So that's a decent little resume.
Yeah, especially more or less right around the corner from you.
Yep. Yeah. The latest one's only like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes away. And it's a good old German Pilsner. Nice. And the art's cool. You guys got the image. It's cool looking. Like the cover so I grabbed it for the cover, but hopefully it's pretty.
Grabbed it for the cover, but came for the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am kind of sticking with the similar beer style. As you guys know, I went to do a bunch of hiking in the Southwest during the Thanksgiving break. So I'm going to have one of the Grand Canyon Brewing Company beers that I brought back. It is the American Pilsner, a golden brown, lightly balanced bohemian style lager with floral and earthy aromas. The smooth bitterness of this brew is beautifully complemented with the subtle malt flavor. It's crisp, clear, and enticing. Discover a Grand Canyon state of mind with this American Pilsner. You can... Sorry?
I said, heck yeah, I like the two Pilsners.
Yeah. It's obviously it's an American Pilsner, as I said. Malts are German Pils malts, Munich and Vienna. The hops are Czech Kazbek. The yeast is lager, and you can get it in a half keg, a sixtel, 6-pack cans, or what they call a 12-pack trail mix, which I love that.
That's awesome.
Instead of it's a case, right? It's a 12-pack trail mix.
I like that.
You can go to grandcanyonbrewery.com. They are based in Arizona, and they have breweries and distilleries kind of in the Flagstaff area, along with parts of Utah. So that's where I found them, was in, I found them in Page, Arizona. So I'm excited to give this one a whirl.
Very cool, man. I'm sticking. I'm doing something similar as you guys all are. I am doing a lager. I'm doing it actually from a brewery kind of near me. Surprise, surprise. But I'm doing one from Crooked Can Brewing, which I know we've certainly most had on the pod before. It's a beer that I've wanted to try ever since they announced it. But I actually picked it up at a Total Wine. And the guy, when I was checking out, was asking me, he's like, do they sell this in this stadium? Because it's been selling real good. And I said, I don't know. I said, I would assume so, but I've been wanting to have it for a while. And even though I live like right there kind of by the brewery, or at least, 10 minutes down the road, I haven't been there to have it yet. And I'm there a lot because I go to the German place. I just won't always go down to the can. But I'm having, in partnership with your Orlando Magic, 6th Man Lager. And very cool. It has their like Crooked Can guy on the front and the blue and white pinstripe. It says the 6th Man Lager celebrates the vibrant community of Orlando with every sip, where the excitement of the Magic's game is matched only by the dedication of their fans. This beer isn't just a drink, it's a tribute to the energy and enthusiasm that makes each night unforgettable. Brewed with all-American barley, corn, and hop, this beer is refreshing and crisp, brewed to be the perfect way to wet your whistle for game time. Cheers, Andy, Alan, and Todd. And they, like I said, partnered with the Orlando Magic, who I saw it, but I also got tonight because Franz Wagner, one of my favorite players in the NBA, and for the Magic, team high 20 points, but they lost. I'm excited to try this. Like they announced it prior to the NBA season, so sometime there in October or November. I believe they have it on tap, but you can get it at Total Wines in the area, and I would assume at the brewery too. You head over to crookedcan.com.
6 Man Lager. You canning it too?
No, I'm going to pour it out for the pictures.
No, but yours was canned as well.
Yeah, so sorry, I neglected to show you the can art. So for the Grand Canyon Brewing, all of theirs is like these cartoon landscapes.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
And so they have different famous portions of the Grand Canyon as the art on all their beers.
Yeah, the art looks like it'd be like the background in a Wile E. Coyote short.
Yeah, or you know those you see them everywhere. The national parks.
The travel map or not? The national park travel posters or whatever.
Right. Or the calendars, and they kind of have this like hand drawn, cartoonish kind of feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So yes, canning it as well.
All right.
All right, gentlemen.
Shall we?
Crack these lagers open. It smells good. I smell the German hops. Oh, yeah. I get more. I swear, this is the only groom's gift that has ever gotten this much use of any wedding I've been in. It is that can koozie you got us, Ron.
Oh, yeah, that's great, man.
That thing is bomb. I love that. I use that thing all the time.
Cheers. All right. Cilantro, fellas.
Cheers, gents.
Oh, man. Ooh, that's good. This is I don't know how to describe this. Like the German hops where they're like, you really smell them, but they're not overly hoppy like you get in a German Pilsner. But it's a really effervescent Pilsner. It's really good, but it's like a cross. I mean, I guess it's like a cross between like a craft American Pilsner and German. It's somewhere in between. It's really good though. It's very drinkable.
This one, if you can imagine the American Pilsner with a bit of kind of that flowery taste that you get in some of the more herbal kind of IPAs. You get this kind of floral mouthfeel in there, which is interesting. It's not overpowering. It's very subtle, but it's this is going to sound contradictory. It's prominent but subtle. So you can definitely taste it, but it doesn't take over.
I get you. Yeah.
And then it's a very kind of earthy yet biscuity kind of smell that you get off the top of it. But it's quite good. I would, if I lived there, I would get, a bunch of these for smoking out in the summertime and hanging out by the pool.
And that's kind of how I feel about this one. I'm going to want another one quickly.
And by smoking out, I mean smoking food on the smoker.
Yes. I think we know what you meant, but thank you for clarifying it for everyone at home.
Smoking your meat. My favorite post I ever put up about smoking meat was when I got a light, and I just put the post up innocently that said, this light I got for Christmas is great. I'm out here at night and I can actually see my meat when I smoke out. And I didn't think twice about it because it looked normal to me when I posted it.
Yep. That's it's always somebody else going, hey, that didn't quite, what did you, like, I knew what you meant, but you might want to think about the wording on that. I will tell you, man, the Crooked Can rarely makes a bad beer, and this is no exception to the rule there. I mean, this is a crushable, nice lager. It's a full-bodied lager, so don't think like light lager or anything like that. It is a full-bodied but tasteful, good old classic American lager. I definitely, I came in a 4-pack, so I have I have 2 of them that I have here. So I will definitely be getting into number 2 at some point tonight.
Oh God, that's really good. It's so good. It knocked me off of this show. Like I was like, ready to talk about soccer, and I was like, damn, this is quite good. You guys just want to go hop in the car and go to the pub down the way?
Right.
That's what I want to do right now. How do we find that pub that would just let us record in the pub? That's what I want to know.
I mean, as long as we're promoting their stuff, I bet they would let us do it in a heartbeat.
You just get that fourth mic to like lay nearby, so you do the NPR thing. You pick up all the background noise of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's what you got to do. I do work at a place, the brewery now. I can convince them to sponsor us. Let us record in the brewery or something at some point.
There you go.
All right. Well, before we get to our State of the Union for our various clubs, we're going to take a quick look at how things are sitting. So, and then we'll update you about the Premier League table and the Women's Super League table and see how they are looking so far this season. First up, Ron for the Premier League table.
All right. It's no surprise. Liverpool being fairly consistent throughout their first 21 matches of the season are in first at 50 points. Arsenal in second on 44, tied with Nottingham Forest, who is still in up there, third on 44 points. Only difference being goal difference at the moment. No one would have thought that Forest would be in third at the beginning of this season. Chelsea sitting in fourth on 40 points. Were you going to say something, Blake?
I was just going to say, at the start of the season, they did beat Liverpool 1-0.
Yeah, and it's not that you could have seen them in third. It's that they're still in third at this point of the game after 22 matches.
Yeah, exactly. Chelsea are in fourth on 40 points. Manchester City rounding out the top five. They just woke up from their kind of festive fixtures slump on 38 points, tied with sixth place Newcastle, which is only a goal difference of 3. No one thought Man City would be fighting their way back into the top 5. In seventh, Bournemouth on 37 points. Guys, is there a single club in the Premier League right now that is unafraid to play Bournemouth?
No. I don't know. Look at your goal differential when you start to move after this club. Because right now we've gone from plus 30, plus 22, plus 11, plus 17, 15, 12, and then plus 10 for Bournemouth. And then
and who did you just say as well? Newcastle. I believe they play this weekend.
Yes, I think you're right. That'd be a good match.
Yeah. But Bournemouth, man,
hey, that was my pick that they'd be fighting for Europe. That was my less sure prediction after last year.
Looking good so far.
It's looking great. In eighth place, Aston Villa on 36 points with a -1 goal differential, as Blake was saying. Ninth place rounds Brighton, Hove Albion on 34 points. And rounding out the top 10 is Fulham on 33 points.
And a great season they're having as well. Some big wins. Raul Jimenez, Harry Wilson, Emmanuel Smith-Rowe. They're all having themselves one heck of a season.
You know, I'm glad you said that because, to be honest, Nottingham and Bournemouth are kind of overshadowing the clubs like Fulham, who coming in it after last season is doing really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're getting overshadowed a bit.
Yeah, agreed. Brentford starts the bottom half of the table in 11th place on 28 points, followed by Crystal Palace in 12th on 27, and then Manchester United in 13th.
I wonder how my state of duress is going to go.
On 26 points, which is a little bit less of a surprise than a team in a minute. 14th place is West Ham on 26 points, tied with Manchester United, but the goal difference there is massive by 11. Manchester United having -5 goals difference and West Ham having -16. But here is the shock, gentlemen.
Blake's so happy right now.
Oh, and the stat is also weird, but go ahead. Yes, it's delightful.
Tottenham Hotspur in 15th place. Only a few points off that relegation zone. Like, this is crazy.
What's their goal differential?
Their goal differential is 10.
plus 10,
Plus
right?
10.
So
That's wild.
the only other club that's that high is Bournemouth, and they're in 7th. It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, Tottenham has a host of problems, but if you go back
And injuries too, to be fair.
if you go back and look at their last 50 matches, they have only won or drawn 24.
May Angie Ball reign forever.
Well, I think what's going to reign forever is the ownership of the club and the board, and that's really where your problem lies. But moving on, 16th place, Everton, on a negative 10 goal difference, 20 points. Wolves in 17 on Wolves at 17th place on 16 points with a negative 19 goal difference. Then you get into the drop zone. In 18th place, Ipswich Town on negative 23 goal difference and 16 points. So between Wolves and Ipswich and maybe Everton, there could be a battle for the bottom there. 19th place is Leicester on 14 points with a negative 25 goal difference. And relegate them now, Southampton in 20th place on 6 points out of 22 games played.
And both those clubs have lost 5 in a row, at least.
Yeah. Southampton with the highest negative goal difference of negative 35.
Jeez.
And that is the state of the Premier League table as of today.
I just always kept feeling like Leicester might pull something off and be sitting in like that where kind of Everton is right now. And man, I think they're my most disappointing one out of this bottom 3 that I really thought might do a little something more.
Well, I mean, at least the Leicester clubs are being consistent, because they're second to last in this table. Well, guess what? They're second to last in the WSL table as well. The Women's Super League in England, there's only 12 teams in this league, but I'll kind of start from the bottom and work our way up in this one. But Crystal Palace right now is the only team in the relegation zone, so they only dropped the 12th team. They are winless in their last 5, only on 5 points and minus 23 goal difference. Leicester, as I was just saying, second to bottom, only 1 point ahead on 6 points, and 1 point above, or I'm sorry, 1 place above in 11th on minus 11. Then you have West Ham in 10th on 8 points. Everton in 9th on 10 points. They are also tied with Aston Villa, who are also on 10 points, who are in 8th. Difference there, Aston Villa only has a minus 6 goal difference, and Everton only has a minus 10. 7th in the WSL table, you have Liverpool minus 7 on 12 points. Tottenham Hotspur doing considerably better than their counterparts right now in 6th place on 14 points, minus 7. And then in 5th, so pretty much mid-table-ish or thereabouts, you have Brighton right there, 18 for 18, so a 0 goal separation and difference there. And they're on 17 points. Then you get in your top 4. Now, it's not your top 4 that get into the Champions League places. It's your top 3. So right now, in 4th, knocked down recently, Manchester City. They are dealing with some injuries, but they have a plus 11 goal difference at the moment, excuse me. And they're on 22 points. So plus 11 and on 22 points. Then in 3rd place, after beating Man City this past week in the derby, you have Manchester United in 3rd place, plus 15 on 24 points. That 3rd place is basically, it qualifies for the Women's Champions League, where they have to play some playing games before they actually start the thing, or before they actually start the tournament. Then in 2nd place, you have Arsenal on plus 20 on 24 points. So both Arsenal and Manchester United are tied on points. But guess who Arsenal have in the next game this weekend? Chelsea, who are first place in the league, 6 points ahead, or 7 points ahead, excuse me, plus 30 goal difference. And they might be making, we'll get to it here at some point, a huge signing and bringing somebody in to Chelsea. So that is your WSL table as of now.
Just love it. The WSL just gets more and more exciting every year.
Yeah, and they're about halfway through. They're on 11 games. So,
shall we move to our our State of the Unions?
Absolutely.
This beer is really good. Do I want to start with the Arsenal women or the Arsenal men? You know what? You just finished off WSL. I'm gonna pull an audible, and I'm gonna start with the Arsenal women first. So, another lifting of the Women's Super League trophy seemed all but inevitable, but then from the ashes of Arsenal manager Jonas Edvald's, if I said that right, resignation, Renee Slegers stepped in as interim manager and went on an unbeaten run of 11 matches in all competitions. Once she was named permanent manager, the run was extended to 12 as they beat Crystal Palace 5-0. Currently, Arsenal sit in second place, as Ferris mentioned, 7 points behind Chelsea. 11 matches have been played. There's a lot of ground to make up, but this Arsenal team seem the only ones who can possibly top Chelsea's run at another trophy. Man United's got a little inconsistency issue in the WSL, but we'll see what Ferris has to say in his State of the Union. But that's my State of the Union for Arsenal women. Is they are in second on an exciting run trying to chase the title from, I'm sure Ron will tell us, I think it's 6 that Chelsea's been lifting here recently. Now over to the Arsenal men's State of the Union. 407 matches ago, our footy forefathers brought forth to this red fan base a new hope, conceived in a tight defense and dedicated to the proposition that a false 9 is all you need to win. And then the injuries came. Hold for show. Let me just pull up that list.
Oh, I don't want to hear about injuries.
I love how Ferris will talk about it for anybody. But just as he was looking to be hitting a stride, maybe finishing out a good second half of the season, Gabriel Jesus, ACL injury, potential return date, November 22nd, 2025. Bukayo Saka got his thigh injury, said it was going to take about 3 months. Right now, slated possible return April 1st, 2025. William Saliba, thigh injury, soon maybe possible return beginning of February. Along with Ben White. These two would be huge if they can come at the beginning of February. If they do come back good and strong, that would be excellent. And we'll probably write the story of the season, to be honest, depending on how well they can come back. Poor Tomiyasu. Dude just been injury prone, and he is slated to possibly come back beginning of February as well. And then the frustrating one, out of the ashes of the defensive injuries, you get a 17-year-old Miles Lewis Skelly coming out kicking ass for Arsenal. And he is not ruled out. He's got a 25% likely. It said like he got like a knock and then it was a little off in training. So they're holding off on him. But still, that's when you're down to the wire. There you go. So those are the big injuries holding on Arsenal. And to continue on to the State of the Union, maybe it's because, like, I don't know, the world keeps feeling like it's on fire. So I refuse to get so emotionally upset about footy at this moment. But to be perfectly serious, like stepping back, like I'm not super annoyed. Everybody is Liverpool's doing well, but they're not doing as good as Man City did in the last 3 seasons, right? Like everybody seems to have these weekends we hit where you go, my Lord, does anyone definitively want to win this? I mean, even Liverpool's had some where they, draws and stuff. And so it doesn't. It all remains to be seen to an extent. Liverpool seems like they're pushing ahead. They're certainly doing well at 50 points and in first place, but they just don't feel as inevitable as Man City of the past few years. And then I know it's only one game, but did you all feel it when Man City came out kicking that you're like, oh man, do you think they're about to do one of their things? Or they go on a run? And granted, they would need people to screw up along the way. And then the last thing I'll say is, or is this all just Nottingham's dance and we're just invited as guests to the ball and we just don't know it yet?
Hear, hear. I will say, real quick, just to chime in on the Arsenal women's team. Both are second in the table. However, Arsenal women haven't lost since October 12th against Chelsea, who they play this week. But they've won every match except for one, November 3rd. They tied against Man United, but they've won every match both in the league and Champions League since then. So they are tearing it up, and it'll be a fun match to watch. I believe this Sunday when they take. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yes, this Sunday when they take on Chelsea at I believe it's at the Bridge, I think is where they're playing, but I could be wrong. Yep, next day Stamford Bridge.
Chelsea. And it's like they need to win it. Not like the season's over if they don't, but like
big game.
Yeah.
Big game, right? One and two in the table. With Arsenal, it's they're still playing well. They're still picking up points. Yes, they have some injuries, which is kind of what Arsenal haven't had in years past, but they always tend to drop points at the inopportune time, right? So they drop points on,
like when Liverpool does.
Correct, right? So a few games ago when Liverpool drew, they drew. Yeah. When Liverpool, drew their next game, Arsenal did win. However, when Liverpool won their next game, Arsenal gave up a 2-0 lead and drew that game. So they can't really catch any ground. And, I think a player of the season for you guys, if I have my opinion, is Timber. Julian Timber has been playing fantastic. And if he stays fit, he could be a real key to how it is that you guys continue to play, keep pace.
It was nice to see. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. But it was nice to see. I believe it was Rice. Yeah, Rice, Havertz, and Odegaard to get on the scoreboard Wednesday in the Champions League, because those are three folks that haven't and needed to get a goal. I don't know. Like it's
Havertz is a really great player. He is just very streaky, right? He was that way at Chelsea too. He'd have these extended goal drought periods, and then he'd have these other times where he could almost blink and the ball would go in, find the back of the net. But he's not very consistent in that.
Right. He has these big moments where he'll pop up and he scores goals, right? You think the biggest of them all was in the Champions League against Man City a few seasons back with that goal to win it all. I will say that Arsenal pretty much have secured a first round bye, if you will, in the Champions League. With their win, they're pretty much secured for that one of those top 8 teams that is going to not have to play a play-in round. So looking to advance in the Champions League, obviously knocked out. I can't remember if we potted in between that or not. From Pens by Man United in the FA Cup. They're on the ropes in Chupacabra Cup. They're down 2-0 to Newcastle. Not insurmountable, not, those type of things. But it's going to be interesting because how are those injuries going to affect maybe playing on a few different fronts now, where this time of the season, Arsenal haven't necessarily been in these kind of fronts or these type of spots. So If they can continue to keep pace and stay fit, they give themselves probably the best chance they've had in a few years. You can argue that last season was that best chance, but because it came down to the very last day. But this is where they can catch up. If Man City is out of the proverbial top spot of equation, they might be able to just nick there on the last day or two or last game or two. If Liverpool tend to drop the ball at anywhere along the line.
It's gonna be interesting to watch, right? Like we were saying, you've got some key injuries, some key people in and out. So the fitness of the squad and the consistency of the squad is really gonna, I think, help dictate. All right. Jesus is still injured, if I'm not mistaken.
God. He's
gonna be out for a while, right?
Yeah, he was playing like he was doing really well, like, with all these injuries that had happened. He was probably showing a spark of like, crap, this might be great.
And he tried to foul Bruno and completely miss and fell. And that was
ACL is. It says it didn't say like torn. It said injured. So I don't know where. But anyway, it's not until November. That's when he's slated to come back.
Yeah, and that's quite a long time. So I think your consistency of squad and those injuries are really going to be key for you moving forward.
Well, no Saka is huge. I mean, that's been such a linchpin. And it's funny, you were talking about Havertz, and I was like, yeah, like Havertz, it was like, was it worth it or whatever? And then last season it was like, well, if you took out Havertz, it's Arsenal in like fifth, and this year, I got to go back and look at it. It's not that feeling where it's like, oh man, he literally saved several games for Arsenal with like late goal things like that.
And that was his MO at Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say he's streaky, because he could come up in these big moments and the ball would just effortlessly hit the back of the net right at the perfect time. And then other times he couldn't buy the goal and ship it to his house.
There's nothing like being a fan whose team is fighting in second place with key injuries, and now literally the social media feed is nothing but insane transfer talk because of that. It's like, I'm so glad when the transfer market closes, because it's just, soon. It's so dumb. Let's unzip my shirt here and get the Beautiful Game shirt rolling. I was unpacking and found my Beautiful Game shirt. Forgot about this bad boy.
All right, Ron, you're up.
Thank you, Chairman of the Content, for
yes. Holy crap! Yes, Chairman of the Content, done.
And Mr. Host of the podcast, thank you for being here. Loyal listeners and new listeners, welcome. I am here standing before this microphone to tell you that the state of Chelsea's football clubs are strong. The men on their side punching slightly above their expected weight. The ladies punching right through to the stars. We couldn't ask for a better year in the insanity that was the transfer window for the men. Years of changing clubs, injuries stacked up. And on the ladies' side, taking the best female coach that has ever been in soccer, both men's or women's, and replacing her at the start of this year to be, as we said earlier, first in the table on a run of 9 undefeated matches. Technically 10 because we drew 1, but we are having a very good year despite maybe what's in the press, the news media outlets who have all their own agendas, fake news, Twitter news, all that kind of stuff. Pay no attention to any of that. But I'd like to go over some of the pros and cons of our year and really show you that our Chelsea ownership is taking a step in the right direction. There is no more argument about Clear Lake versus Bowley. There is no more argument about the co-sporting directors. Unless we start losing, and then there'll be those arguments. But don't get caught up in that. You just continue on with the gloriousness of our club and how the season's going. On the men's side, let's have a discussion about the men here for a moment. We're doing above expectations for where this project is. We said it at the very beginning of this year. It's going to be another tough year. But we came out of the gate. We were strong. We were motivated. And we've been doing well. We've had a slight wobble over the Christmas period, but we seem to be picking ourselves out of that. Like a lot of other teams, we have some injuries. Most of our injuries happen to all be in the defense. But how could you tell? Because we were really hemorrhaging goals anyway. However, the triumphant return of Trevor Chalobah this past week,
recalled from loan, baby,
shows us the mentality we all should have. Be professionals. Don't talk shit. Just go out and let your work speak for itself. And he did that in spades against Wolves this past week without a single word to the news media. Just, I'm going to show up and make them see why they shouldn't have let me go in the first place. Reece James has played a few matches and he is still uninjured. Gentlemen, that is a win. Caicedo, the midfielder who said it was never going to work. He was never going to be a primetime player, is bossing the midfield for the Chelsea men. Nick Jackson, you know what he has shown? He has shown that he has potential. But that's all about he's shown. He is currently on a 6-game, I don't know where the goal is streak. Another thing, let's talk about some areas of improvement, right? We've got some places we're excited about. Let's talk about some cons here. We're a bit inconsistent. We kind of hemorrhage goals there in the defense. We need to fix that, right? We're gonna support moving money and making smart player allocations to help get some of that defense going, because it really needs to happen. Maresca, our commander-in-chief, if you will, that his project is succeeding. If he's got one area for improvement, it's that he needs to make more impactful subs. Other than that, his plans are relatively working. And so we keep the ship second star to the right, straight on till morning.
All right, Captain Kirk.
Hold on.
Aye, aye.
We're still going. Despite the fact that we have 1.7 million players on the roster, we actually don't have much depth, which is why our defense is in tatters, right? For some reason, for some inexplicable reason, we're going after wingers in the winter transfer window instead of maybe helping out the midfield or
That's
fixing
the only
defense.
position you have depth in.
You got 24 of them, right?
Yeah. And then the only other thing that we need to work on as a people, as a club, as a fan base is we've treated some players pretty terribly in the recent past. Like Conor Gallagher, who for the past 2 years poured his blood, sweat, and tears into that Chelsea midfield, and we just kind of cast him off. And we gave him a hard time about it. So Chelsea Football Club, let's do unto others. All right. Now I'm going to switch to the women, and I'll keep this brief because I know that my time is near. We took the most winning manager of men's or women's from Chelsea Football Club and brought her to the U.S. women's national team. So for that, hell yeah. However, Chelsea were able to replace her with probably the second best in Sonia Bompastor. That's an amazing thing that we are undefeated in the league. We're at top of the league. We have a little bit of room for comfort. We're going to just knock about in Champions League. I'm excited for that. Another interesting thing is that the Chelsea women have signed U.S. national women's team defender Naomi Girma for a record transfer $1.1 million.
Is that official?
Yes.
Damn.
And that's after they brought in Lucy Bronze in the off season from wherever the heck she was at. Yep. Barca, maybe.
So we're currently top of the table on 31 points. We also have a great new sponsor in Constant Contact. New training kit sponsor. So we're actually doing better on the women's side than the men's side.
Kit yet.
And from the final, I'll leave you with this final portion on the women's side. We choose to fight for the WSL title and Champions League, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Thank you, chairman of the content and host of the podcast. Have a nice day.
It was great hearing from Secretary of Chelsea Defense.
Well done. Well done. Listen, and then you can't argue. I mean, God, you're going to have Millie Bright, Girma, and Bronze all in the back line there for them. That is a women's just powerhouse of a back four. And the men, listen, they finally get a win. And it was 3 goal scorers you would have never guessed.
Yeah.
Cucurella, Tosin, and then Madueke back kind of in the squad and in favor in a way. So it's and they're where in the table you said they're fourth, right?
Yeah.
So it's yes, you're right. It is positive all around from the Blues there at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, agreed.
Does it feel like, from the punditry and stuff, I feel like they're always going, well, is it time to take this Chelsea club seriously? And I'm like, is it time to stop saying that every week? Because as soon as they did, they lost like 3 in a row or something.
Well, what's interesting is Maresca came out and said emphatically, we are not title contenders. And then it was a 6-game slide.
Yeah.
So maybe just shut up.
Don't say that. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. Don't say. But
X-nay on the back of A.
It does feel like nobody's taking them very seriously, and that's not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's odd to me. Like right now, Nottingham gets more props, right? And as they should, in fairness. No, for sure. Oh my gosh, talking about pump hitting above the. I mean, did any of us pick them to get relegated? I don't even know. Like it's wild. Like what a wild season they're having. But like, I think the thing that I can't. It's not even I don't want to say the phrase I can't accept, because that makes it sound like it's coming from like an Arsenal fan perspective. I mean, like it's just because Ron said something that made Ferris and I's head both tilt in the beginning of his State of the Union. It's this plan, is it a plan and it's working? Or are they getting lucky? And I don't even mean that like a jerk. I mean,
it's
the
both.
group come together in a way that is way beyond anything that they ever really were planning.
It's not as if they fished in the lake. They dropped a stick of dynamite in the lake and then took everything that came out of it. And then they may have gotten a few good ones out of that.
Yes.
For the amount of players that they brought in, they're bound to get it right at some point.
Because you still have your, what's the kid from, there was like 90 million, the guy instead of going to Arsenal?
Mudryk.
Did
he go out on loan somewhere?
No, he's
still there?
He's suspended pending drug test.
Oh, that's right.
I completely forgot about
it. What was it for? What was he suspended for?
A banned substance. I forget the name of.
God, every day that goes by. I thought there was a moment when I was like going to regret not snagging him again, and then it went away. I mean, like, here's what I'm saying. See, this sounds like an Arsenal fan. Like, I'm not crapping on Chelsea. Actually, you know what I'm saying is I'm giving a prop up to the players who I think are doing it despite all the idiots that are up top. That's what I feel like is happening right now.
I mean, I don't necessarily think you're wrong on all accounts on that, right? I think this is a giant asteroid belt coalescing into a planet. Right. Like it's all coming together, but the pieces don't necessarily fit perfectly the way you'd want them to. It's not being built the way an engineer would, put all this together, but it is slowly coming together. And I think to your point, it's a bit of two things or three things. I don't think it's all Maresca's plan that is, he's behind there pulling the strings, mwahaha, staring into a crystal ball. I think he came in and didn't have to do the heavy lifting that Pochettino did. And Graham Potter had to do before that, where everything was just knee-jerk reaction. We have all these players and now make something of it. Pochettino did a lot of the heavy lifting, and Maresca had the ability to grow on the place that he took the club. And
I certainly don't include him in my idiots at the top thing. I should say players.
No.
Sure. I get what you mean. But I think he is, you can see the impact that he is having, and you can see what they're doing is much, much different than what Pochettino was doing. For the craziness of him asking Mark Cucurella to fold in and step up into the midfield from his defensive winger position. And he's been quite effective at it. So there are things that he's doing. I'll say like two tier changes, right? He's got the first tier, which is the way he wants them to play, right? Which is more or less rigid. And the second tier of things is how he is trying to manipulate the formations, the players' relationships in their positions to try and achieve the best he can to get the tier one playing goals, right? Which is kind of what Postecoglou is not doing, right?
No changes. That's that one's problem, like being inflexible.
Right. Except for this past week, but that's a different story.
So I think
real quick,
you said,
sorry, real fast.
Okay.
So I think that he is making an impact. He is pushing those guys to play a certain way. Some of it is, I would say the majority of it is positive. There are some of it that's not, like giving Robert Sanchez the ability to play passes out of the back. And I would say a quarter of the time, Sanchez's passes are amazing. The 3/4 of the time, they are ill-timed and they are not very tactically sound. So I do think there is a fingerprint of Maresca on the way the team is playing, and he is pushing them in a much better direction. So yes, I think there's a plan. And I think in some ways it is working quite well. In others, maybe not as well.
it is probably one of the more fascinating results to me that's happening right now. It's up there with Nottingham in the sense that Nottingham, it's wild that they're doing there, but Chelsea, like it just was how many weeks, years of every week was like, what is the plan? And then a transfer window would come like, what is the plan?
Yeah.
What is, and of course, Maresca, wasn't in any of that. I just would say, I hope that the top office is, for your sake, smart enough to realize that even if you have some slides and stuff here and there, you leave that dude alone, because like a Newcastle or someone could snag him and then go win the league with him. Like that is the impression I get from him as a manager.
Yeah. And don't forget, he's new to the Premier League.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, he's still doing well.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, it's not like he came out of nowhere. He brought Leicester City back up in a very impressive blowing away the league season, last year. And he's not doing anything overly innovative. Moving Cucurella as that inverted fullback into the center, Pep's been doing that. Amaran, like half the teams now do it, right?
That's fair.
But to see that and to kind of implement those things while continuing to kind of set not consistent lineups. It's consistent to a degree, but having as many players as you have and as many cups and tournaments and that sort of thing you're in, he absolutely is doing a great job, and with what he has. But to Blake's point, those at the top, well, it's taken him 4 or 5, in a row to before, you had Graham Potter, you had so-and-so, before you're starting to get this right. We'll see where they're at the end of the season, but consistently staying in that top 4 for a vast majority of the season so far, if they can continue with that, get themselves back into Champions League play, then yeah, he's done himself a hell of a job.
The main thing is just tell Cole Palmer to chill out, because we need Chris Wood to get the golden boot so Ferris can write that head.
Oh man,
that's the most important.
It's the Woody Award.
Absolutely
brilliant. Ferris.
Oh man,
your turn.
I'm gonna start on positive. Toonie's on fire! First ever hat trick. Derby win for Manchester United women. Boom! On the weekend. What a game. 4-2. Toonie with the hat trick. Ella Toone, Manchester girl through and through. Just awesome. Awesome to see that happen. Yes, they did lose. I'm fully aware. They lost to Man City 2-1 yesterday and their kind of League Cup there. But listen, they've been playing well. Skinner's been doing a great job, former coach of Orlando Pride here. He's been there for a few seasons now, and he's been doing a great job, especially after Sir Ratcliffe hasn't really been overly, I don't want to say positive, but overly supportive of the women's team and some of the things they're doing, right? Dan Ashworth, who was with that club, was doing a lot with them and making some positive strides. And then obviously he, departed within 6 months of kind of their biggest advocate there out the door. Despite all of that, they are doing quite well in the league, and hopefully we can just finish in the top 3 spots there and get a chance for some playing games to play in the Champions League next year. Hey, if any of you are looking for any last-minute words of encouragement for me, I have one. I'd like my Manchester United to right the ship right now. I want them brought from their unhappy, horrible slump of 10-plus years over there on Sir Matt Busby Way with all the other wrong people. And I want them brought right now with a big transfer in the works. And I want to look them straight in the eye, and I want to tell them when an overspending, manager changing, no good rotten, 3-4-3 flushing, low in the table, sucking, bottom feeding, in 13th, overpaid, ignorant, football sucking, FFP kissing, scoreless, pointless, hopeless, heartless, wide-eyed, no-legged, spotted playing, no-heading sack of mud they are. Hallelujah. Where's my beer? Cut it.
in the pod. It was a beautiful game. Good night. You don't top that.
My heart rate's all up. I do have a fresh beer, courtesy of the can. But is it the worst team in Manchester United history? No, it's not. I mean, you have to go back to like 1908 or some shit like that. But
like the third.
Yeah, sure. But it's bad. And you know what, Amarin? Do not apologize for breaking a TV in the locker room. Club can afford a TV. They may not be able to afford anything else, but they can afford a TV. And you got to show a little passion, a little heart. It's not acceptable how they played against Brighton and the things that they do. Yes, they beat Rangers today, and it was a great goal at the end there. And they're doing okay in Europa League. And yes, they knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup, and they can do that. They can beat Man City. They can draw with Liverpool. Lose to Brighton, lose to Wolves, lose to you name them. Anybody else but those three teams, and it's like they don't know how to play. Thank God, Anthony, looking like he's going on loan. He's out of there. You know, you might see a Garnacho go.
God, I hope
you might
not.
see a Rashford go. You're looking at bringing in a left back. You know, we're haggling with the price with out there in Leeds or wherever in Italy. But we'll see. You got to give Amarin time. That is the key. I am not overly happy with how Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been doing the job of the football operations. This is their first hire. We'll see. And I know he's doing a lot of cost cutting. A lot of people at United have lost their jobs and kind of reduced staff. They're pulling back on certain ambassadors are no longer going to be paid what they are being paid. About Sir Alex, about some of the others. So they're doing these cost-cutting exercises. And I get it to an extent from a business side of things, right? Because what Jim Ratcliffe kind of came in knowingly, it's not like he didn't know, but the club's been in bad financial shape with the amount of debt and stuff that the Glazers have kind of accrued over the years. So it's not in a good place. There's new stadiums workings that are in talks, and usually when that happens, it's yes, you're going to spend up front, but it's hopefully going to bring in more and start a more cash infused thing. So it's not good right now. It's not good at United. But as I said there, in my rant, you can't be changing managers over and over. You got to give Amarin time. It's not his fault. It wasn't Ten Hag's fault to an extent. It wasn't Van Gaal's fault. It wasn't Mourinho's fault. How it starts from the top, down. And the top down has been terrible ever since Sir Alex left. And it's not just because of Sir Alex. You had David Gill there that worked out those deals and did it. When you kind of that GM of soccer operations or whatever it was called at the time changed, the club changed as a whole, and we've just been trying to crawl out of the hole ever since. And this season is no exception to that. We'll see. They're in 13th. Do I think they're going to end in 13th at the end of the season? No, probably somewhere in the top 10. But for the most part, it has been a rough season to watch Man United, more so than in the past few seasons. It's been rough. But glory, Man United. Continue to support, continue to do the things that you do as a supporter and as a fan. But Man United are why I went last there, because they are in the worst shape by far.
Look, it could be 1930 when you shipped 115 goals.
There you go. We're not far off. We're what, a plus or a minus 5? Not terrible for being in 13th, but not great.
I mean, I think Ferris, what did you say, Ron? The chancellor of the
chairman
of the content. Little round of applause. You may have just started a new Brutal Game tradition. This should always happen around midpoints this season. This is delightful. Oh my God. Thank you for just texting us your monologue. We've not had enough Christmas vacation in this show lately.
It only felt appropriate.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
I like that we all emulated great speeches.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Blake's was the Gettysburg Address. Mine was the Moon speech, and and Ferris's was the best of all of them from Christmas Vacation. Thank you, Chevy Chase.
Hear, hear.
Flawless. Absolutely flawless. With that, Ferris takes us to a very well-deserved halftime whistle, where we turn things over to all the news that's fit to drink with Ron's Beer News. Ron, over to you.
Gentlemen, did you guys feel the tug of the force, the beer force yesterday?
Oh, I feel like you're going to say what this is.
I can't say what I do. I did.
Big day rippled through the cosmos. Still, the effects are being felt today. On January 22nd, the National Homebrewers Association transitions out from under the Brewers Association. That's a big deal, gentlemen. A very big deal. You're both looking at me totally puzzled.
I need to hear where this drops. Like I'm
lost.
So, the American Homebrewers Association, which has been operating under the Brewers Association since 1983. So the idea here is that the American Homebrewers Association has been working under the Brewers Association to promote the brewing ethos, right? The Brewers Association, or the BA, is more about professional breweries, craft breweries, things like that. Homebrewers, the American Homebrew Association, was founded in 1978 once it was legal to be able to make your own hooch in your basement, kind of thing. And the AHA, the American Homebrewers Association, has fed tons of technology, people, education into the Brewers Association, because all these people at home are, brewing beer and doing different things, and they turn into professional brewers. And then the Brewers Association makes a lot of money off of its membership and its contests and its prizes, like the Great American Beer Festival and the World Beer Cup and all this kind of stuff. Well, now that American Homebrewers Association is parting ways, so all of this kind of grassroots R&D, which is where the modern craft brewery or the modern craft beer explosion came from, homebrewing, that's no longer part of the Brewers Association. So that's a big thing. Now they're their own 501c. So now they're separate. The decision to separate the Homebrewers Association from the Brewers Association is a big deal. It's a gigantic milestone. It's recognition that the world of craft beer has changed significantly. Homebrewing is a hobby that for many years provided an entry point and a conduit into the professional world, and even into brewery ownership. But today, many folks approach a brewing career choice without having to do homebrew. So now that the world is so much bigger, there's not a need for both of them to cohabitate, right? So craft beer is a business, homebrewing is a hobby, and so they're kind of separating that out. the Brewers Association represents and promotes the interest of the craft beer industry as a whole, which often involves politics and policy and talking with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, congressmen to change laws like the archaic ones we had in Pennsylvania, where you could only buy a full case of craft beer, which took you out of it if you were trying to sell your new Dogfish Head in Pennsylvania, because no one's going to spend $120 on a case of beer that they don't know that they're going to like. So they'll just pick Coors, right? Because it's way cheaper and they know what that is, right? So the Brewers Association is going that direction. Home brewing is near and dear to our hearts because, I mean, so many of us, and I'm not saying I'm a professional brewer, but we've dabbled in the home brewing ethos, which has only benefited the Brewers Association, because we go out and we will buy new craft beers and learn how to make them, and it gets us much more involved in our community breweries and things like that. So having those two entities working with each other was very good for the beer industry. Now we're going to have to see how the lines are drawn. It's going to be a weird kind of time for how this is all going to work. You look like you have something, Blake.
Well, I mean, like, there's so much has changed. I mean, the craft beer industry, it's still doing well. You'll hear a lot of news about craft breweries closing and stuff like that. I mean, and it's tough to parse out because, like, yes, the growth has slowed down. And you know, we I don't know, we have this weird dream that perpetual unrestricted growth is what must always happen, and at some point you're going to hit, you know, mass appeal to folks. But like, it still exists. It's still, you know, it's different. It's going through an evolution. It's changing, because before it was scrappy and like the underdog fighting for stuff. And while yes, it's still smaller than large macro brews, it is now a part of the culture. It's no longer a fringe thing. You're surprised if someone's like, oh, I've only ever had a Bud Light now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Even if they're not into craft beer, they probably at least tried one, right? I can imagine it's a time, because that's probably what your brewers associations are so focused on right now, is this cosmic shift. Before, you didn't even have to, and this is a little hyperbolic, but like 20 years ago, you don't have to advertise a craft brewery. People will find you, you know? And now, I mean, I've moved a bunch in the last few years. I have constantly been surrounded by fantastic. I've yet to have my local Butternuts Brewing. Every one of them has been good, you know? Some great, or others just plain like, hell yeah, I'll have one of these any day of the week, you know? So it makes sense to me that the homebrew would come out of it, because I imagine you probably can't get a lot of attention right there while craft beer is dealing with sort of the shifting landscape that they're dealing with right now. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Times they change, as Mr. Dillon said.
Yeah. It's going to be real interesting to see kind of how things go ahead. The interesting thing is that the American Homebrewers Association kind of has I'm going to say a newish chairperson, only from the respect of she'll be chairing the new 501c version, and that's Shauna Cormier. And the Brewers Association has just elected a new chairperson. They call him something different. I forget what that is offhand, but they're going to essentially have a brand new vision and layout of what the Brewers Association is going to do and how it's going to do it. And we'll find all of that out April 28th through May 1st in Indianapolis for the Craft Brewers Conference. So if you have the ability to go to that as a quote professional member of the beer community, that's something you're going to want to pay attention to, because now there's kind of a polar shift in the company mandates and the nonprofit kind of path that each of these are going to go on. So it's going to be a little scary in the beginning, but ultimately I think it's going to be a successful thing for both of the organizations. So keep paying attention. That's going to be crazy.
So you had the state of the Brunion?
We'll come up with a clever name for it. And that, gentlemen, is all the beer that is fit to, or news that is fit to drink.
There you go. There you go. End it strong.
Well done, my friend. That's an awesome bit of just news and update on the world of brewing.
It's cool to see how much is changing. I know it's scary for folks at the same time, but it's wild to see. It's here to stay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're not fighting for space anymore. Exciting.
Oh,
did Ron's Chelsea artwork thing that I got him just fall
Did
off?
the bridge and beer gods just speak?
Yeah.
That was weird.
You okay?
My place is apparently haunted.
Is that a because that was held on by a magnet. Is that a good or bad omen for Chelsea?
Well, it's not held on by he has it up on like a shelf, but that shelf, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong in the studio there. The shelf isn't connected to the desk. So even if you shake the desk, the shelves aren't going anywhere, right? Because we hung those shelves, didn't we?
That is correct.
That's a little weird. I tell you, the bridge and beer gods.
But I saved this one.
Oh, you saved Jose, yes.
I saved the Jose Mourinho bobblehead. I'm the special one.
I am the special one.
Well, Ferris, do you want to take us in and round this pod up with our La Liga's roundup? Oh, Ron managed to hit that one.
I know. He was still standing up trying to fix it and everything. Well done. Sure. It's the champions. The champions. League is still playing. Yes, even after the new year. It's because they got 2 extra games. So after this week's round 7 matches, there's only one more match week round left before the table. Yes, it's the table this year is completed and ready for the knockout stages of this new look best club tournament in the world. All right, so let's dive in.
Oh, hold on. Before you dive in, are we liking it? Do we like the new format?
I think so. I think so to a degree. There's a lot of intrigue there on as I go down the table here in a second of where some teams are going to line up, because then, as we were alluding to, there's a playoff round, which the only these 10 or so teams that are in these playoff slots will play. The top teams, top 8 teams, something like that, get a bye, and then they meet in the round of 16, which is then what we know of the round of 16. So there's 2 extra matches in this table stage, which would be your group stage, because there's only 6 that you played in the group stage. There's 2 extra, right? And there's a draw. You could play pretty much anybody throughout the 36-team table. And then after round 8, which is coming up here in a few weeks, that's when you have your knockout stages of your playoff draw. So all of those teams from essentially 9th through 24 will play against each other in some way. And it's pretty much the team right either above you or below you on how it draws out, from my understanding, I think. Once that's determined, then they get seeded into the round of 16, which those top 8 teams, wherever they rank, will play teams. So it's a bit convoluted right now. It's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs and the round of 16 draw go. But out of just some of the few highlights of the past 2 days of some Champions League games, you had some upsets. You had some great games. Benfica, Barcelona, 4-5. They were just going shot for shot, and a really late goal, 90 plus 6 by Rafinha, his second on the day, kind of got them ahead and kind of secured their place as second in the table. You had Monaco beating Aston Villa 1-0. You had Borussia Dortmund losing again, and I believe they just fired Nuri Sahin. Dortmund has not been having a good season. So whether it's United or Dortmund, I'm just not having the best year. But they are still in a playoff contention. I'll go over that here in a bit. Juventus can only draw with Club Brugge. Liverpool, who topped the Champions League table the same way they do in the Premier League, topped Lille yesterday 2-1. And then today, all of that was on Tuesday that I just said. Yesterday, you had Milan beating Girona 1-0. You had RB Leipzig beating Sporting 2-1. You had Arsenal beating Dynamo Zagreb 3-0. You had Celtic securing their place in the playoffs. So they are secured to go to at least the playoffs and not be kind of relegated out there. They won 1-0. You had Bayern losing 3-0 to Feyenoord. And Bayern, not good in terms of how they've been playing so far this year. Yes, they're in a playoff place. They will probably stay there. I think they are secure for staying there. But to get into those automatic places, very unlikely at this stage. And then you had Madrid beating Salzburg 5-1, Inter Milan beating Sparta Prague 1-0. The big match of the day, though, Paris Saint-Germain and Man City, the battle of the Gulf, or whatever there, the $1 billion clubs or whatever, played into a 4-2 win by Paris Saint-Germain, PSG. And City, about how they are in the Premier League, not good. They are actually in 25th right now. They are 2 points away from the playoff spot. Playoff spot ends in 24 teams. So they have to win. They must win and need a little bit of help from some other teams, but they at the very least must win to even secure themselves into the next round, which they would have to play the playoff round. Paris Saint-Germain is not doing a whole lot better, but that win brought them up into 22nd on 10 points into the playoff round. So here's how, after 7 rounds and only one more round to play, here's how that table that I've been referring to is. I'm going to go through teams 1 through 8 in order. You have Liverpool tops on 21 points, Barcelona in second on 18 points. Arsenal are in third on 16 points, Inter in fourth on 16 points. I believe all of those clubs are absolutely secure to kind of have that first round bye, if you will. Then in fifth, you have Atletico Madrid, who won their game 2-1. They're tied on 15 points with 6th place Milan. Atalanta, who had a big win, 5-0 or something along those lines, in 7th on 14 points, and Bayern Leverkusen, who lost to Atletico Madrid, in 8th on 13 points. That is your top 8. Your 5 through 8 could change depending on results in this next round. Could. Now, could, because you have about 9 through 13th realistically that can get themselves up into the top 8 and kind of this and not have to find themselves playing in a playoff match. But a majority of these teams are secured in the playoffs. You have in 9th Aston Villa on 13 points, Monaco in 10th on 13 points, and Feyenoord and Lille 11th and 12th respectively on 13 points, and also Brest on 13 points. So you have right there alone, you have 9 through 13 all on 13 points. Say they all win, and Bayern, Atalanta, Milan, and Madrid all lose. Boom. Then you're seeing them all kind of swap. Then you go into 14th place, and teams that are more than likely going to stay where they're at in the playoff spots and not get kind of that automatic through. 14th, you have Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, so the 2 German clubs in 14th and 15th, both on 12 points. Then you have another slew of 12s where you have Real Madrid, Juventus, and Celtic. Man, that alone, Dortmund, Bayern, Real Madrid, Juventus, Celtic, all on 12 points. That's like the Euro games of old there, just some powerhouses in there. 19th place, you have PSV Eindhoven on 11 points, and Club Brugge also on 11 points in 20th. Now, here are your teams along with them that are in a bit of, let's say, trouble because they're in the playoff spots right now, but teams below them, as we were saying, Man City, Dynamo Zagreb, Shakhtar Donetsk can all kind of get in with wins and some help from these teams right here. In 21st, Benfica on 10 points, Paris Saint-Germain on 10 points, Sporting also on 10 points, and VfB Stuttgart all on 10 points. So you're 20 through 24 all on 10 points. Teams below them, again, that are not in a playoff place right now are Man City, Dynamo Zagreb, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Bologna. But realistically, it is probably Shakhtar Donetsk, Dynamo, and City who all have a chance to get into those playoff places, because if they get wins, that takes them 3 points, at least to 10th where that last spot is right now, or at least to 10 points where that last spot is. So match week 8 or match round 8 will take place on next week. So January 29th. And that's the day. All games play on that at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. Wild. It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot of matches.
And Man City have who do Man City have? Because they have to win again. They have Club Brugge. Club Brugge is in one of those playoff spots, and remember they're down there. Those two teams can swap spots. So Club Brugge is going to have something to play for. Man City will be at home. Some of your other big ones that are coming up in round 8 is you have VfB Stuttgart and Paris Saint-Germain. Stuttgart trying to stay in those top 8 automatic spots, and PSG trying to even make it in and stay in those playoff spots. So definitely stay tuned next Wednesday, and we should have an update for you then. But that's Champions League, gents. What you kind of think?
City has had a terrible run of form in the Champions League. Jeez.
Yes, they have.
Man. I don't know. This might be fun. The buzz online, people seem to be kind of enjoying this format a bit. It's tough. It's fun. A lot of these top clubs, their players are playing a lot of games.
Yeah.
And it's just, there has to be a tipping point at some point, right? I mean, or tournaments that play well. It's happened in the Premier League, right, where they dropped out of doing so much of the FA Cup with some of the larger clubs and things like that. And there's got to be something that snaps. And of course, they keep trying to talk about Super League in different names. Basically, keep popping. That's my only concern. At this format, obviously, you're just getting more matches in, and it's a lot.
Yeah, and to that point, a lot of these teams are playing in the Club World Cup this year, which is only not even a month after the season on most of these leagues end. So it's a lot of games. You added at least 3 games, right? For some teams, because for all teams you added 2 games. But if you make it to the playoffs, you have to play that game before then you get to what we know of the round of 16. So your knockout stages from the past. So yes, it's not a drastic amount of games. So in that way, it doesn't knock the tournament too bad, but it's still adding to the to the football calendar throughout the season. And it's been exciting, right? You got that 4 or 5 game, you get those. The only downside is you're not seeing. You have to look at the table to figure out where all 36 of these teams are. So when these games are tight and they're playing in the group, you kind of know, hey, they got to win this because now they're going to top the 4-team group. Now it's where they're going to end up in the table. So you have to be kind of more knowledgeable of going, okay, all right, where are they in 8th? Okay, so they could go up into that automatic spot in 7th, but then they could be in that playoff spot. And then who do we get from there? And I believe each round is by so the playoff matchups seen us on FOTMob are determined by a draw. In each grouping, the two teams on the left are drawn against the two teams on the right to create two playoff matches. So that's kind of how they have it set up here. So, like, for instance, Villa right now would play 24th place Stuttgart, I guess. Or that's not right. It's something along those lines. The playoffs are then played over 2 legs. So there you go. That's an additional 2 games. So it's not 3 that I was talking about. It's initial 2 games and a 2-leg playoff. So if you're playing in the playoffs, there's an automatic additional 4 games to your calendar. And then once that is done and going to the round of 16, then another draw will take place following along the same process. So I think it's been fun. There's been a lot of games. It's interesting. It's interesting, but so far it hasn't been bad.
Yeah, just another bunch of games in a spot where you didn't have games before just prevents you from you as a player from recuperating to your fullest before you're in all your domestic leagues, matches as well. So in that time where you would have had, this week or that week off, now you suddenly have games that you didn't have before. And then that can adversely affect your league play because you have people who are tired, you have people who are injured, you have to rotate the squad. You may not, there's not that many teams that have the depth to fight this war on so many fronts, right? So it's kind of it's all about attrition at that point.
Yeah, and to your point, they wouldn't be playing Champions League football in January. Right. It usually doesn't go until like mid-February when the round of 16, because all the clubs know where they're going to be placed before the new year. So
right.
It's a good and bad thing. But yeah, to your point, Ron, you got to have a pretty deep squad and play it out basically every Saturday to Tuesdays, to Sunday, Wednesday to Wednesday to, or Sunday to Wednesday and, so on and so forth. So, and the other leagues are the same. So your Europa League and Europa Conference League are the same. We won't go through all of that right now, but yeah, they're kind of all formatted the same for this new.
But the more games you get in separate tournaments, the more you're really going to have to pick and choose which tournaments are going to be your priorities and which ones are not, right? Because there's not a lot of depth that you're going to be able to do that from your 3 or 4 domestic competitions and then all of your international, right? So I agree with Blake. At some point, there's going to be a tipping point that says, hey, we're going to... We elect not to do this because this tournament or that tournament has been decided by our club to be more of a priority for our club. And then we'll get to see how the fallout from that works.
Well, and the players are already starting to talk about it. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp complained about it, combined with things like the festive fixtures for the Premier League that are like, now you stack those matches and then roll straight into Champions League matches that are now happening in January. It's something. Well, there'll be some bad season where like, oh my God, all the stars across the leagues of Europe are out.
Right. Or allow them change the rules for how many players and which players are allowed to be on which rosters, right? So now you can have a bigger squad for international tournaments and you can preserve more of the players for your domestic tournaments, right? But right now the rules aren't set up that way. And so if you want to keep all this money coming in from all these major tournaments, allow the teams to be bigger and have more depth and raise the financial fair play rules for everybody.
Which, the what was it, a few years ago, the 5 subs have certainly helped.
Sure.
towards that, but it's a lot more steps in the ladder to help.
But that
with
didn't
this.
come out of we added more games because we have all these tournaments, right? So yes, that was
you're right. You're correct, because that came out of COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah,
correct. So while you do have a point there, that wasn't intended to be a relief from all of these, tournaments that all these teams are trying to be in.
And like you said, it'll make them start ditching clubs or tournaments internally. I mean, it already upset a bunch of people about the whole thing, the larger clubs not being involved in some of the matches in the in the Premier League. And I don't know, you'll just see more of that. So I don't know, see how it shakes out. But
yeah, I think the light at the end of the tunnel for this problem for all of the leagues is a train, not the solution. And I think they're going to have to hit that train before they start worrying about a solution. Because right now the money's rolling, the TV broadcast rights are, rolling. All of the sponsorship deals are moving. Everybody's fat, making money. But as soon as, some feces hits the fan, if you will, it's going to be, no one's going to want to make any changes.
Yep. When feces hit the fan.
I know we've talked about it's kind of fun, and ended with feces hitting the fan.
Yep.
That really was a journey that the Champions League.
That sums up this pod perfectly.
Oh man. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to bring everybody down. I was just trying to, highlight a reality.
They did. Hey, look, they did their own job in bringing it down. It was their fault. Well, that brings us to the end of the pod. So our beers of the pod hold on, I got to remember because the new brewery, Jimmy, from, what did I say it was? From Collusion Tap Works. I had their German style Pilsner, the First Right, and it is tasty.
Mine was the American Pilsner from Grand Canyon Brewing and Distilling.
And I had the Sixth Man Lager from Crooked Can Brewing here in Winter Garden, Florida, a beer in collab with the Orlando Magic.
As always, you can follow us on our Untapped. Hit us on Facebook. We're on the Blue Skies now under Brutiful Game. We're starting to get our posts up more.
Yeah, it's fun. I will say, and Blake, you were 100% correct. If you are into soccer, it is a perfect platform because there is a lot of soccer reporters, pundits, all on there, and they are active. So if you are into soccer, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're engaging. They're active. That's what's kind of fun about it, I'm sure at some point, if it blows up too big, it'll get too hard for that to keep happening. But right now, it is a ton of fun. Ferris, do you have a Zlatan quote for us?
Kind of. About 9 hours ago, I am Zlatan Ibrahimovic, blue check verified on Instagram, posted a picture. And from 2001 through 2016, he played at Ajax, Juventus, Inter Milan, Barcelona, AC Milan, and PSG. Every season that I just named there, he was a champion except for two where his teams finished second. And his comment on the picture that he posted was 16 years, 2 failures. The rest is history. Now, what Zlatan failed to post there is in 2016-17, he went to Man United and we finished third. So once he went to Man United, it was all downhill from there.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. I love it. I always left one off. Rate and review us on the however you catch us, Apple Podcasts, what have you. Let us know. We'll try to get some fun, a koozie or something out to the mail to you. I finally found my koozies so I could get some Beautiful Game logos with my beer pictures I'm doing for the pod. It was taking me a while to still got to find my magnets, find out which box that they're in. And then I think here to end things off for this pod, since we did State of the Unions, I feel like I have to do a dad joke that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Good advice. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit. It's a political dad joke. Politician and diapers. They have one thing in common. They should both be changed regularly and for the same reason. Thank you and good night. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The brutal
game.